the approximate location of the taillight, and I'll line it up with the broken taillight in a second, lines up with the approximate location of the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
You changed your PowerPoint presentation during this trial, correct?
Correct.
Can you recall one instance where Aperture has submitted an amended report in the middle of the trial?
So Aperture's like 290 people. I can only speak for myself.
A key witness to the Commonwealth's case returns to the stand for more cross in Karen Reed's retrial, as the defense created enough doubts in the accident reconstructionist testimony. Plus, we are reading into the defendant's body language. A body language expert is breaking down Karen's courtroom reactions. And Cassie Ventura's stylist and friend testifies to the decade of alleged bloody abuse between Cassie and Diddy. We'll hear some of the testimony through AI. Also this hour, the arson investigation. Will it tip the scales in Diddy's criminal case? What a fire investigator says about the Molotov cocktail car bombing incident. It's all next, right here on Opening Statements. And welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Callie Kraft in this morning for Julie Grant. Julie is a special guest host for the Scripps National Spelling Bee, and she will be back next week. So good morning to you. And on this show, we are getting you ready for what's ahead in court. Right now, it's time for the Daily Docket.
The evidence in this case is going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Maxwell Anderson intentionally killed Sade Robinson and then sought to have her disappear from this world. He cut up her body, tried to get rid of her body parts, and tried to cover it up in any way that he could.
The state's case continues this morning in the deadly first date murder trial for defendant Maxwell Anderson. He is accused in the death and disappearance of 19-year-old Sade Robinson. Court begins at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. rather, Eastern. Also in New York, testimony resumes in Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial. Court will start there at 9 a.m. Eastern. We are also in Massachusetts this morning. The Commonwealth's accident reconstructionist will return to the stand for more cross-examination. This is in the Karen Reed retrial. That will begin at 9 a.m. Eastern as well. And that's our top story. Judson Welcher could be the final witness for the Commonwealth. Court TV's crime and legal correspondent Matt Johnson is outside the courthouse in Dedham with the very latest.
Kelly, good morning. Today is going to be another big day here in Dedham, Massachusetts, as the state's crash reconstructionist will be back on the stand for a third day in a row. On Wednesday, Dr. Judson Welcher, the state's crash reconstructionist, told the jury what he believes happened to Officer John O'Keefe in the alleged deadly collision.
So there's been two potential theories that I've seen on that issue. One is a glass was thrown at the rear of the vehicle and shattered it. The second one was an impact to the arm. If the impact is basically more than approximately 8 miles an hour, it will likely break the taillight lens.
Well, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty whether John O'Keefe's injuries on his arm, inevitably in the back of his head, are consistent with being struck by a Lexus identical to the defendant's Lexus on January 29, 2022?
Yes.
On cross, he said that he did not conduct any tests at 20 to 24 miles per hour. The day ended with heated arguments outside the presence of the jury over pictures in his report that appear to match photos from the crash reconstructionist last year.
Did you get the drone image from any file from the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes.
What do you recognize in terms of the person in it?
It appeared to be Trooper Paul from other photos.
When you used that photo, was it because you were borrowing, relying on, or using any of Trooper Paul's reports for your conclusions or any of your decisions or analysis in this case?
I did not use his report.
Karen, does the defense want to call Trooper Paul?
I don't have any comment, thank you.
And Dr. Welcher could be the state's final witness, but with today being a half day of testimony, he is expected now to be on the stand all week. Kelly?
Matt, thank you for that report. Now, the defense attempted to poke holes at Judson Welcher's reconstruction of the crash. Alessi questioned Welcher about where John O'Keefe's lacerations were on his forearm.
Now, as I understand your testimony, Dr. Welcher, you believe that it's possible that the Lexus taillight could have caused these wounds to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm. Is that correct?
Correct.
And more specifically, it's your belief that the lacerations would have been caused by the vehicle scratching Mr. O'Keefe's arm as it drives past him. Is that correct?
I don't know, I'd characterize it that way. What happens is, this 6,000-pound vehicle is coming, and he's standing on a, icy, snowy roadway area, and it's going to contact him and move his whole body and induce rotation.
Right. So it's going to contact him and, under your theory, induce rotation. Isn't it true that if Mr. O'Keefe's arm were to be flexed like it was with the test subject in your blue paint test, the lacerations on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm would be oriented in a vertical direction?
Absolutely not. If you pull up my slide 117, it'll show exactly that it is like perfectly horizontal. When you're standing like this, and this is the tail light, the laceration, when it comes across here and pushes my body, it's going to make a horizontal laceration because the 6,000-pound vehicle is going to push me out of the way. As this pushes me out of the way, it's going to drag and create a horizontal laceration across my arm.
Here to discuss this case, criminal defense attorneys Mario Gallucci and Matthew Timpanek. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us this morning here on Opening Statements. Let's talk about this cross-examination. Mario, let's start with you. What are your initial thoughts on Judson Welcher on the cross-examination?
Thank you for having me on, but Alessi's doing a very good job at trying to create doubt. They have their own accident reconstruction expert who has prepped Alessi in this cross-examination. But I got to say, Welcher's really hanging in there, and he got a lot out yesterday, especially with the DNA. And although Alessi objected and wanted it struck, the jury heard that. And, once you ring that bell, it's very difficult to unring that bell. So I think he's doing a good job at trying to poke holes. I'm sure that their accident reconstruction expert is going to say the exact opposite of what Welcher is saying. And I think it's a great cross, great expert witness, very well prepped and doing a very good job. He's not really flailing up there. And Alessi's throwing bombs at him, and he's standing up there pretty good.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely really a solid witness for the Commonwealth. Okay, well, Matthew, what do you think? Is the defense doing enough to create reasonable doubt?
I don't know if they've got to that point. I can see at times where Alessi is going with the cross, but he's also not laying enough of a foundation. Think of how long direct examination was. It was about a day, day and a quarter. It spent about a half day not even laying a foundation. And when you're getting answers where it's like, absolutely not, Alessi is making, at times, kind of three rookie mistakes. One, he sometimes asks questions he doesn't know the answers to. He's asking too many open answers, which could allow the witness to say whatever they want instead of leading questions. And third, they're allowing this individual to control the cross-examination, which hopefully that changes today, because otherwise I think Dr. Welcher is going to run out the clock on this cross-examination.
Mario, a major question from the defense was why Welcher did not conduct that testing at 20 miles per hour. Okay, I mean, I can kind of understand why he wouldn't, but what are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's a doubt why he didn't conduct it at 20 miles per hour, because I think he conducted it, it was at 2 miles per hour, I believe.
I think what Welcher's trying to say is that at 2 miles an hour, it created this type of injury. Could you imagine the type of injury it could have done if it was a faster moving vehicle? You got to remember, it was a blizzard out, there was snow on the ground. It's very difficult to judge what the speed of that car is. I agree that I think Welcher's doing a very good job on the stand here, and that DNA part got out there. I don't know why he objected to it and tried to strike that answer. It just highlighted it for the jury.
Matthew, let's talk about more the defense could do. Do you see anything more that the defense can do here? I know a lot of it yesterday. A lot of people were thinking, okay, he's not making any headway here, Alessi. What more can the defense do today?
You got to go after the testing method, because the data you can't really argue with. It's scientific fact. But what you can do is argue what he was doing to actually get his findings. What test did he run to come to conclusion that Officer O'Keefe was struck by Karen Reed's vehicle? You see the paint, and you see him looking like a crash dummy. That's where you attack today, is the actual methods for getting your findings. You can't argue with the data, but you can argue the opinion.
You know, let's play a little bit. This is when he's being asked about changes, Welcher is, to the PowerPoint presentation. This was something that we heard about during voir dire. Let's go ahead and play that, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
You changed your PowerPoint presentation during this trial, correct?
Correct.
And how many times did you change your presentation after April 22nd of 2025?
Well, the last time I changed it was like 10 minutes ago. So in response to various discussions, I've been making continuous changes to it.
So, Mario, what do you think of that?
I think that Welch is unflappable. I think that, Alessi's trying to go after him, and Alessi's going after him on things that he really shouldn't be going after him on. He basically just said, I've changed it 10 minutes ago based upon the questions you're giving me, so I need to change the PowerPoint to demonstrate what happened here. And what happened here is not what you're saying happened here. So I think Welch is doing a great job here. I really do. And I think Alessi's really just not hammering away what he should be hammering away with. And they have an expert. So he should be using the questions that his expert gave him and be running with that.
Okay, Matthew, Commonwealth, is this going to be their last witness? Have they done enough to prove their case?
Yes, I think this is going to be their last witness. Hank Brennan is a defense attorney, and he was a prosecutor long before that. And he knows that usually you want to end on your best witness. And everything that has come to this point, that the meteorologist talking about the frozen ground, Dr. Wolf talking about the fall to the ground, which caused the injury that led to death, the embedded piece of the taillight in the clothing, and now the final piece, the opinion that Karen Reed's Alexis is actually struck Officer O'Keefe, and that's what actually caused his death. So now you have all pieces of the puzzle to prove a pedestrian strike, and I think that this is where they rest their case.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. Both of you are staying around with us this morning. Coming up on opening statements, we are going to take a look at Karen Reed's courtroom reactions and animated gestures. A body language expert is going to join us live. That's next. Plus,
what was Mr. Combs saying as he pulled Cassie by the hair off the couch and hit her?
I just remember y'all going to stop with me.
What was Mr. Combs' tone and demeanor?
He was in a rage.
Cassie's friend and stylist testifies to Diddy's alleged abuse. We'll hear more of the violent altercation straight ahead.
A VPI special report.
The P. Diddy sex abuse scandal that has rocked Hollywood and the world of hip-hop.
The downfall of a music mogul.
Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years.
An all-new look at the evidence and the latest from inside the courtroom.
That was the moment when everything changed.
Vinnie Politan investigates. A Diddy special report. Wednesday night, 9/8 Central on Court TV.
Did you say...
And is the level of intoxication pretty high here for everybody?
It's happy.
Yeah.
It's
you'd had a lot to drink, right?
I wouldn't say I had like a normal amount.
What's good?
Like a vodka tonic every 40 minutes.
Okay. And so are you feeling like buzzed? And I'm not judging, I'm just trying to get a sense.
Buzzed.
Now for what's trending in true crime. Karen Reed's body language. You just heard Reed and saw her. We were watching a clip of her talking about admitting to driving after she drank alcohol the night before John O'Keefe died in January of 2022. We have seen Karen Reed very animated inside that courtroom. Yesterday, she reacted to a dead body that was being shown on a screen. This was not John O'Keefe. They were comparing another case and using that as a demonstration. And you also see her talking to her attorneys during this testimony. In her retrial, she has exhibited a lot of nonverbal communication. Court TV cameras caught her winking at Robert Alessi, one of her defense attorneys. In another instance, we did see a moment that has gone viral online. She appears to be flipping the bird in this video. Now, we did blur that out for you. So what can we read into the defendant's body language? We're going to bring in some guests to discuss this morning. Attorneys Matthew Timpanic and Mario Gallucci. And joining us now is jury consultant and body language expert Susan Constantine. Thank you so much for all sticking around. And Susan, welcome to you. Welcome to the program. Susan, nice to see you. I see you sometimes in court, so it's nice to see you here this morning. All right, Susan, what can we make of Karen's reaction? First off, let's talk about that photo that was put up. Again, this was a dead body that was put up. It was exhibited inside that courtroom, not John O'Keefe, someone else, used as a demonstration. What can you tell us about this body language?
Well, what we have to look at here is that she is sending a nonverbal signals. These are all internal processing. What she thinks, what she feels is being exhibited through her nonverbals. I believe that this is intentional. She is wanting to communicate to that jury what she's thinking and feeling. And when she is whispering over, it is sending the signal of that she has a disagreement or that she's not approving of it. And so there seems to be this kind of camaraderie between them with the smirking, the smiling. So there's all these nonverbal secrets they're sending through nonverbals back and forth.
All right, Susan, talk about the winking. What do you make of that?
Well, the winking is one of the things, yeah, we got this, but it's followed by a smile. So there's two of them, right? So when she winks, it's like, yeah, we got this. We understand, no problem. And then she smiles. So when she smiles, that's a sense of enjoyment. She's excited about it. She's gleeful about it. So when you're seeing this from the jury's perspective, it can send mixed signals. So one juror may look at that going, well, good for her. She's standing up for what she believes. Another one could say, you know what, this ties right into her attitude that she thinks that she's above it. Could show narcissism. So it has a dual message, and it really depends on the person who's actually seeing it and how they are decoding it. But that is what the message is. It's like, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, it does look like that. Matthew and Mario, I want to bring you in. You know, one of the things that I noticed, and I know we're talking about Karen Reed here, but sitting inside the courtroom for the Sean Diddy Combs case. So when Sean Combs, when his defense counsel is standing there, when they're about ready to wrap up, they look at Sean, and then I noticed that Sean will kind of nod, give the head nod to let them know that you're good. We don't need any further questions here. At least that's how I'm reading into that. When you see Karen Reed make that wink like that, is that kind of these signs of, okay, yeah, we're good, like Susan was talking about?
I definitely think so.
I think her reactions are her reactions. I think that they, like Susan just said, they're subject to interpretation. You know, some people are going to say that she is being flippant or she's being rude, and other people are going to say she's being very confident. And as a defense attorney, I would probably stop her, and I like what they do with Sean, with the P. Diddy. With P. Diddy, you know, it's like, all right, we're good. It's not winking, and as she's sitting there, affirming, oh, we got this, we have this. And if you have a juror that sits there and says, you know, there's a dead man here, and you're responsible maybe for his death, maybe you should take it a little more seriously. There could be other jurors up there saying the opposite.
Matthew, what's your take on this?
What is definitely interesting about when you're talking about Diddy's case, after you're doing a direct cross-examination, it's very common for the counsel to look back if they have a co-counsel to see whether they have questions. I would do that often in trial. It's like, all right, do we have any more? It'd be a head nod if we do, or head shake if we do not. And it's definitely uncommon to see the defendant like essentially being a part of the defense team. The defendant is the one on trial. They're the one paying the money. But remember, the attorneys are they are in charge of trial strategy. It definitely feels in this case, considering the defendant oftentimes kind of passes notes and asks these questions, that who's actually really in charge of this cross-examination at this time, and who's in charge of trial strategy? It's definitely a little puzzling.
All right, let's watch Karen react to Judson Welcher testify about, something. We're talking about John O'Keefe here. Let's watch Karen's reaction to this testimony, and I'll get your take on the other side.
Dr. Welcher, in terms of the analyses that you have reviewed in this case, is there one time that you understand there to be for a hypothesis for the time of the impact at 34 Fairview?
Objection.
Okay, she looks a little mad there. Susan, I'll bring you in first.
So what we're looking at is her facial expressions really are not showing in a lot of emotion, but what we're seeing in her facial expressions is tension. So when you see the muscles kind of constrict and you see them tighten up a little bit, this is concealed anger. So when she's frustrated or angry, that she becomes very still and there's tension in her body. So that's what I look at. It's really under the body category of the channels, and it falls underneath what we call how we illustrate our facial expressions through our face, showing anger through this tension in our muscles.
Mario, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Matthew. I think that, the defense attorneys are allowing her to be too expressive, that, although she paid for us, we're in charge of her life, and we're the quarterback here. And if I were her attorneys, I would slow her down, because there's going to be jurors up there that are not going to think, that she's being confident. They're going to think that she's being rude, she's being flippant, and she's being inappropriate. She has to take a more demure opinion here.
Let's go to another clip. This is something that went viral. So this was this moment in court a couple weeks ago. Karen appears to flip the bird. I mean, maybe it was just the way her hands were, but let's go ahead and show that. So you can see it there. We've blurred it out. Susan, I'll bring you in right away. I mean, was this intentional?
This is 100% intentional. This is what we call an emblem. An emblem in the United States is one gesture with one meaning and one word. Actually, with this one, it's two words, okay? So this is intentional. You'll see her eyes fixated. She's looking directly at him. Eyes are frozen, eyebrows are up, and she's giving the flipping the bird gesture. This is by far the most vulgar gesture anybody could give another human being when it comes to hand gestures. It's the same thing in Italian as if you were go like this. It's the same thing. It has a meaning, and everybody knows what that meaning is. So when she doesn't like something, she disagrees, and she hates that person, she is going to send this nonverbal cue and speak a cuss word at him nonverbally.
Yeah, wow. Oof. Good analysis, Susan. I really appreciate having you on this morning and hearing everything you have to say. I know we're saying goodbye to you. Till next time, I see you inside one of the courtrooms across America. Thanks again for being with us, Susan. And I know Matthew and Mario, you guys are going to stick around, so don't leave me yet. Still to come on opening statements.
So what blood did you see after Cassie's head hit the bed frame?
Blood coming from her head.
How much blood did you see coming from Cassie's head?
A lot.
And did Mr. Combs stop hitting Cassie immediately after her head hit the bed?
No.
Cassie's friend takes the stand and testifies about Diddy's alleged bloody abuse. Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Kelly Craft, filling in this morning for Julie Grant. Good morning to all of you. Let's go to New York. It is day 12 of the sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs. Here's what we can expect when court starts in about 1 hour. Deontay Nash, Cassie Ventura's close friend, who worked for Combs for 10 years, he returns to the stand for more cross-examination. During his testimony yesterday, he described the times he says he witnessed Combs be violent with Ventura. Here's part of his testimony where he's describing an alleged violent attack from Combs on Ventura. Because this is a federal trial, we have no audio or video coming from inside that courtroom, so this is an AI-generated voice from court transcripts.
Did you hear a knock at the door?
Yes.
What did you do in response?
I opened it.
Who did you see outside the apartment door?
Puff.
What did Mr. Combs say when you opened the apartment door for him?
Bitch, didn't I tell you to answer the phone?
Who did you understand he was speaking to when he said, bitch, didn't I tell you to answer the phone?
Cassie.
What did you see Mr. Combs do after he said that?
Grab her by the hair and pull her off of the couch and start hitting her.
When you say grab her by the hair, who did Mr. Combs grab by the hair?
Cassie.
And after Mr. Combs grabbed Cassie by the hair, what did he do next?
He began to hit her.
Could you tell whether it was with an open or closed fist?
Not really, no.
Could you tell how hard he was hitting her?
Objection. Overruled.
Could you tell how hard he was hitting her?
Pretty hard.
What was Mr. Combs saying as he pulled Cassie by the hair off the couch and hit her?
I just remember y'all going to stop with me.
What was Mr. Combs's tone and demeanor?
He was in a rage.
Where did you, Mia, and Cassie go after Mr. Combs? Immediately after Mr. Combs started hitting Cassie.
We ran to her bedroom.
To Cassie's bedroom?
Cassie's bedroom, yes.
What did you, Mia, and Cassie attempt to do in her bedroom?
Try to close the door.
What happened when you, Mia, and Cassie tried to close the bedroom door?
Puff pushed it open.
After Mr. Combs pushed the bedroom door open, what did you see him do next?
He continued to attack Cassie.
And how was he attacking Cassie?
With his fists and kicking her.
And what parts of Cassie's body did you see him kick and hit?
I mean, it was so fast.
But did you see him?
Yes.
Make contact with her body?
Yes, he made contact, yes.
What did you do to try to help Cassie?
I jumped on Puff's back.
How did Mr. Combs react when you jumped on his back?
He threw me off.
Where did you land?
On the floor.
Were you injured?
I was a little sore.
What did Mia do to try to help Cassie?
Jump on his back as well.
When you say his back, whose back?
Puff.
How did Mr. Combs react when Mia jumped on Mr. Combs' back?
She was thrown off as well.
What did Mr. Combs do after throwing you and Mia off of his back?
Continued to hit Cassie until her head hit the edge of the bed frame.
What did you see happen after Cassie's head hit the edge of the bed frame?
He still continued to hit her for, a short time. And when he noticed the blood, he just panicked.
So what blood did you see after Cassie's head hit the bed frame?
Blood coming from her head.
How much blood did you see coming from Cassie's head?
A lot.
And did Mr. Combs stop hitting Cassie immediately after her head hit the bed?
No.
For about how much longer did he continue to hit her as she was bleeding from the head?
Couple of seconds.
After that, at that point, were you still in the room?
Yes.
And where was Mia?
Getting towels.
And where? What were the towels for?
Cassie's head.
And where was Cassie?
She went into the second bathroom.
As you all were leaving the bedroom, what, if anything, did Mr. Combs say to you, Mia, and Cassie?
look what y'all made me do.
And how did you see her the next day?
FaceTime or something like that.
And when you saw her, what, if any, injuries did you see?
She had stitches on her forehead. She had a gash on her forehead.
You just heard the name Mia. We are expecting this important government witness today. This woman who goes by the name Mia. She is a former assistant to Combs. In the opening statements, the federal prosecution said that Combs raped her. So after hearing all this damning testimony, we are asking, how can a friend witness abuse and still continue working for the alleged criminal? So it's an important question, and we want to bring in a guest to discuss this with us this hour. Entertainment commentator Holland Reed. Holland, thank you so much for being with us this morning. You know, you do hear people kind of talk about situations like this, and being inside the courtroom, we heard so much abuse that was taking place. It's very hard to listen to. You go home at the end of the night, and it's trying. It's trying on the soul. You see these videos. So, Holland, you have been to, I want to talk a little bit about the background. You've been to some events or a party with Sean Diddy Combs. Kind of talk about that, and maybe talk about the circles in being in there and how we're hearing witness after witness come to the stand and talk about witnessing this abuse, but then not leaving employment with him, not doing anything about it.
Kelly, thank you so much for having me on this morning. Wow, this is super personal for me on so many levels. Yes, I was a dancer and an actress back in Los Angeles. I did a couple of award shows and was invited to these parties. Not those parties, but the general parties. I've never been to a freak off. I just want to make that very clear for my family and anyone that knows me. But in the same breath, when you are around that level of power and power dynamics, when you're looking at some of the heaviest hitters in the room, in the industry, music, television, entertainment, politics, it is very intimidating across the board. I want to say that it is also, people want to keep their jobs, and most people are really, they're self-serving in these scenarios. I was in an abusive situation that didn't necessarily manifest as bruises or being beat upside my head, but I was blackballed, blacklisted. I was told, lies were told on me. I was ostracized from friend groups. I was ostracized from different agencies. So I know what abuse looks like when someone is not getting their way. And it doesn't always show up in the capacity or the extremities of Cassie's situation, but it's still abuse and it's still manipulation and power. What I can say is, when you are dealing with anybody that has even an inkling of power, money, control, even just a little bit, and the person that I was dealing with just had a little tiny bit, but they can take that and run with it, and then it causes a catastrophe of a ripple effect for the people that are involved. And so that's how I know that friends can be silent. I've had plenty of friends still to this day who will never speak up on my behalf. I can't even imagine what Cassie's level of what she went through, and the people that knew they just wanted to stay in the industry. They wanted to have their jobs, their careers, and who were they going to go to? Who were they actually going to go to? He is Puff Daddy, Diddy, Love, Sean Combs. He was an empire. He is a machine. I've been saying that. This was not just one person. There was no one these people could go to. So either you leave the career or the industry, or you just become silent and stay loyal and hope for the best.
Holland, and it is a difficult situation, and you hear, and there's different degrees. Obviously, you know, you hear about the lifestyle that Cassie Ventura was having, the private planes traveling to Ibiza, South Africa, all over the world. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that glamorous or an extravagant of a lifestyle. It can just happen in a regular place of employment as well. You might see something, and then a lot of people might say, you know what, just keep your head down. You're getting a paycheck. You need the paycheck. Don't say anything. It's a really tough situation. But that said, when you're deciding the fate of a man in court, and jurors are listening to this, and they're hearing both sides. They're hearing witness after witness get up there and say, I saw this, but yet I didn't do anything. And defense counsel's picking up on that and saying, well, you stayed. You called him again. After you saw that abuse or after he did this to you, you went back, you wanted to work with him still. Jurors have to decide if he's guilty of these crimes, and they're hearing these conflicting reports from the witnesses.
I will say this, Kelly. Deontay, the one thing that he did with his testimony is that he humanized the experience that Cassie went through. He did not paint her in a prettier picture. He was very much a part of the chaos. And so what he did was also show she was terrified for her life. She was scared for her friends and her family. She did want her career. She didn't know what to do. She was young. She was impressionable. She was gullible. She was also drugged on a regular basis, probably not in her right mind a lot of these times. And the power dynamic from a 22-year-old at that time, or whatever the years were, it was a big age gap of someone also in power, not just an age gap, but a power dynamic gap. And she was the one that was at his beck and call. She did not know better, but now she knows better. She's doing better. I would just like to say this is a woman who just gave birth yesterday. She is in a rebirth period. I want to give her kudos. It takes a powerful woman that is changing her life to stand up on a stand, 8 months pregnant, still give birth and still be cooperating with the FBI on one of the biggest trials of a century. So this is not a 22-year-old little girl we're dealing with anymore. We're dealing with a grown woman who is dealing with her own reckoning and also the reckoning of an entire industry and empire.
Good point, Helen. And it was amazing to watch her testimony and how she was able to sit there in the witness box and answer questions on cross-examination that were not easy, talking about her personal life, going through that binder of men that she had to flip through, being asked to name them, and these were men that she participated in the freak-offs with. I mean, just watching her flip through these binders and her reliving it, but she held up extremely well on the stand. It was quite remarkable to watch. Helen, thank you. You are sticking around with us this morning, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we're going to have more testimony from Diddy's sex trafficking trial. The new details we're learning about the arson investigation from that car bombing incident. That's coming up next.
Sade Robinson left for a first date, but never returned home.
Now, Maxwell Anderson faces a jury charged with this gruesome murder.
The deadly first date murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Lauren Daybell, doomsday cult mom, convicted killer, and now defendant in yet another high-profile trial.
Will this be the final chapter in the saga
of the doomsday cult mom?
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial, Monday morning on Court TV.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the case against Diddy. We are learning new details about the Molotov cocktail that ignited in Kid Cudi's Porsche back in 2012. L.A. arson investigator Lance Jimenez responded to a report of a car fire at Kid Cudi's home. So, what did he find?
Now, you said that you observed the Porsche. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you form an opinion as to how the Molotov cocktail got into the interior of the car?
Yeah. At the end of my investigation, I formed the opinion that somebody had lit it and dropped it, cut the roof, and dropped it inside of the front seat.
So after making these observations as to the scene, what did you do next?
We proceeded to look for any surveillance cameras. There were cameras there. I was informed that they weren't recording. We also looked for witnesses, canvassed the area. We only had one witness that was there, but they just came after the fire had already been set. So they didn't see the actual fire occur. And then I was able to speak with the victim of the Porsche in the home.
What did your partner do?
He took photos and proceeded to collect the evidence. We did collect evidence on scene.
Investigator Jimenez, after reviewing the evidence that we've just looked at, what, if any, conclusion did you reach as to the cause and origin of this auto fire?
I made the determination that somebody had taken that bottle, put gasoline inside it, stuffed that cloth inside it, lit the cloth, cut the roof of the vehicle, dropped it down inside. I believe that the cloth had fell out, burned, smoldered, and then the liquid splashed. And the bottle never broke, obviously. And then the fire just kind of self-contained inside the vehicle, causing damage, burn damage. And the origin was there on the seat, the driver's seat, that caused the most damage where the bottle had eventually landed.
What, if anything, did you conclude about whether this was a random act?
In my opinion, it was targeted for where the car was located. This car was not easily visible from the street. The car was not, there was another car in the driveway that didn't get targeted. So I believe the Porsche was targeted closer to the home.
Still with me to discuss this morning, attorneys Matthew Timpanic, Mario Gallucci, and entertainment commentator Holland Reed. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for sticking around. Let's talk about this, what took place on the stand, talking about Kid Cudi and this Molotov cocktail. Mario, let me start with you. What are your takeaways from this?
So the top count here is a RICO count. And in order to establish a RICO count, they need to get predicate acts. And one of those predicate acts is an arson. And although nobody saw him do the arson, they're trying to by using circumstantial evidence, show that he was responsible for blowing up Kid Cudi's Porsche. And they're doing that by showing beforehand that he told people that he wanted to kill him, that he went to the house, supposedly, put a dog in the closet, and that he's responsible for this. And the arson is violence. And it's just another one of the predicate acts that they're trying to use to prove the RICO, which is the count that
Matthew, let me bring you in here. I mean, what Mario was talking about is true. Let's get to the charges that need to be proven. And this is one of those predicate acts. Talk to me about what you're taking away from this testimony.
This is very important because in a racketeering case, you need to show this individual is essentially acting as a mafia boss. And you're hearing about the violence, you're hearing about the arson. How are you going to convince jurors that one of the most popular musical producers and rappers in the history of music moonlights as a mafia boss? And you need to be able to prove to them that music producer and rapper is simply his day job. And beating on Cassie and committing arson against Kid Cudi's vehicle are acts of what he's doing to try to keep his power. And that's exactly what you need to do. He is not a normal mafia boss that they're trying to convict. They're trying to convince the jury that he is exactly what he is showing to the public is not who he is when the cameras aren't on him.
Holland, let me bring you in here. One of the things that was kind of discussed is that making the Molotov cocktail, there was a designer scarf or what looked like a designer handkerchief that was inside that Molotov cocktail. And it just goes to this whole extreme lifestyle. Someone just putting, I mean, the scarf may have been thousands of dollars. I mean, who knows? That didn't come out. But just throw something away that may have been thousands of dollars, put it in this Molotov cocktail, gonna blow it up. It's just, you know, throwing away money to most of us, it just seems unreasonable. They're just gonna put it in a Molotov cocktail and try to blow up a Porsche.
Listen, I totally agree with you. And my budget would never, ever do that. But this is someone that has used every part of his power to get away with these crimes. Exactly what both of these gentlemen were saying is that this is a RICO case. So this person used manipulation, financial abuse. Capricorn Clark lobbed it up, and then Deontay kind of, set Spike, because what they established was the manipulation, the money, the control, the abuse, the arson, any possible thing he used, including a $1,000 scarf, he was going to use that to get his point across, to stay in power. And that's why the RICO, I believe 1,000%, is going to stick, because he had no limits on what he was going to use to make his power known in the industry and continue to abuse, manipulate, and control people through blackmail and coercion.
Yeah, and there would seem to be even some chatter, some indication that had it been a cheaper scarf of some sort, maybe the explosion would have been bigger, but because it was designer, it didn't blow up as good. I don't know. Who knows? Thank you so much, everyone. Holland, Matthew, Mario, for joining us this hour.